All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Black Metal Legends. Today we have Harald, who used to play in Thorns and is a part of Stigma Diabolicum. He also plays bass in Imbalance as well. And I wanted to have Harald on Black Metal Legends because of his influence onto the overall black metal scene that started from his time in the early projects, and just wanted to share some light and dispel the myths and the rumors, I guess, from the from the early days. But yeah, Harald, it's an absolute honor and a pleasure to have you on the channel.
Well, I guess the honor is all mine. Let's see how much influence I've had. I don't think that's too much. But I was there. I was there. That's good enough.
No, of course, because me and Harald, we've been in contact for the past few months because we've been working on the upcoming Thorns tab book. So I've got to know him through there. So that's a thing that's coming out soon. But yeah, I just wanted to ask, like, because we were talking about this earlier. It was like the origins of Stigma Diabolicum and Thorns. Like, what's the timeline with it? How did Stigma form? How did you meet Snorre? And just talk us through the whole journey.
Yeah, that's it's a bit of a long journey. I met Snorre first time when I moved to Trondheim, and I happened to end up in the same class as him, and this was still kind of like primary school, last year of primary school, I think. And we ended up on the same desk, and we had to share some books because school economics was probably as bad then as it is now. And so we had to spend some time together, and I think we figured out that we liked each other, and just hung out and started doing things together. And we started hanging out quite a lot, actually. And as time passed, we got more interested in music, and eventually the more extreme forms of metal, and discovered bands like Venom, and eventually Exodus, Slayer, Destruction, all those, the good old thrash metal bands. And about the time this was when we started high school. We were already kind of jamming a bit together and playing a bit, but we didn't have like a band or anything. We just jammed and had a bit of fun with that. And I ended up started playing with another friend that I met through high school called Anders. And we started sort of a band. It was just the two of us, where we played some stuff. I started making a few simple songs, and we decided to name the band Stigma Diabolicum. I think he found the name in some sort of like encyclopedia of the occult or something, which was really cool when you're at that age, of course. We started that, and we played around a bit. We recorded one song, which carried the charming name of Gut-Sucking Toilet. Very inspired by one of the outtakes, or the news clippings on the inner sleeve of the first Carcass album. We kind of just ripped the story from there and made a song out of it. And after that we kind of moved more into a more grindcore, hardcore type music, and felt that the name didn't fit us anymore. So we changed the name to Mannskutt Møks, which is Norwegian and mean man shot with an axe. It was originally meant to be a man shot with a shotgun, but Snorre, of course, who was a good friend of us, and we brought him on to play drums, actually, for a couple of live gigs we were doing, or gigs. It was just we performed at this kind of rock competition in Trondheim.
Snorre on drums.
Yeah, he played drums. He didn't know how to play drums, but he wanted to try play drums. So he bought a couple of drumsticks, and off we went.
Hell yeah, I had
And
no idea. Okay, cool.
so and he kind of misspoke. He mispronounced the name once, so then it became Manshot with an X instead, because we thought that was even weirder. So yeah, let's go with that. So we performed, as I said, on this rock competition in Trondheim in 1989, I think, where we were, as I said, we were really inspired by grindcore and hardcore and yeah, Napalm Death, Extreme Noise Terror, and those kind of things. So we played a song that we had made ourselves that lasted 11 seconds, and then we left the stage.
Hell
And
yeah.
yeah, well, it wasn't musically. It probably wasn't the most interesting stuff, but it got us a mention in the local newspaper. But then, anyway, as time passed on, Snorre and Marius from Mortem was starting to talk together and wanted to start a band together. And since we weren't using Stigma Diabolicum anymore, they asked if they could use the name, and we said, "Yeah, why couldn't you? I mean, of course." So then they took it until they. Yeah, about the time when I got back, I left. I went to the US as an exchange student for a year. About end of last half of 1989 and first half of 1990. So when I got back, then that was actually just the day before they were doing the gig in Stjørdal. And yeah, I joined the band, and then pretty soon after, the name was changed again to Thorns instead. So that's the quick story.
Okay, gotcha. And
Yeah.
then, if I might be misremembering, but wasn't one of the ideas to call the band just Thorn instead of Thorn?
Yeah. Well, that was one. That was actually a source of a bit of an argument between me and Snorre. Because he wanted the band to be, he came up with the name Thorns, and for some reason, I thought it would be cooler if it was just called Thorn. Sounded a bit darker or something. You didn't have this high frequency S at the end of it. I don't know. So I kind of lobbied to get that name in, but he kept to his and wanted it to be Thorns, and so it was.
Cool.
But
And
yeah,
cool, cool. And then in that time, you mentioned that you were like growing up with Snorre and you both getting into music together. Was there like this kind of unanimous decision where it was like, I'm gonna learn guitar or I'm gonna learn bass? Like, what was it anything like that? And how did you get into starting with bass, or did you start with guitar first, or?
no, it started. It was Snorre and a couple of other friends of us at school who started playing guitars, and there was pretty much nobody playing bass. And I figured that a bass has fewer strings, so it must be easier, right? So that's how I got started with bass.
All right.
Ended up that way. It was pretty much just because, well, there wasn't anybody else playing bass, and I had some idea that it would be easier.
Hmm.
Apparently, it wasn't, but that it's been a long learning process.
Yeah, because it's like one of those things like easy to get into but hard to master.
Yeah, something like that. And in the end, you kind of need. The thing is, I didn't have any other musical background from before that. I never played piano or anything like that, or any other instrument when I was younger. So just learning that. Well, one thing is to make sounds, another thing is to make music. In a way, it's that. In the beginning, I think we were pretty much happy just making sounds. We had this attitude, at least in the beginning, that we didn't believe learning music was a good idea. That would kill your creativity and all that, which is just bullshit. But we thought so, and that kind of guided a lot of, at least for my part, it guided a lot of our approach to both making songs and playing music. But on the other hand, I think one of the things we never did much was, of course, we played a bit of kind of learning a few riffs from songs that we liked and stuff, but we never kind of was a cover band, or we never learned playing other people's music. We were always from the very beginning just, we're going to make our own music. If Venom can do it, we can do it, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's a really interesting point because that's what I think made Thorns so unique was this kind of defiance to the norm musically. Because like, you know, going through all of the like Grimmett transcriptions and everything, it's so uncalculatedly calculated in a way. And it sounds very paradoxical, but you know, going through all of the notes and the chords and stuff, everything, like some of the chords and the way it's put and the way some of the notes are used, and you know, some of the harmonies and all those like weird harmonics and stuff that Snorri used, it was all against like defying against what everyone knew to be like metal guitar at the time. And I think that's what
Mm.
made the sound of Thorns so special, because no one at that time was because you know how you made I've got to get the bass, how you showed Afra and I the like stacked tritone
Yeah.
kind of bass sounds. You know, no one was
Mm.
really doing that in heavy metal, and then even with if I want to get a guitar as well, you know, with these kind of chords that Snorri was using.
Mm.
You know, no one was doing any of that kind of stuff, but it's such a simple idea in concept, but it's created because of like the simplicity for it, I think it was so kind of cool. You guys found that sound and were able to move forward with the Grimmick demo, and that I guess that kind of leads us nicely onto the Grimmick demo itself.
Mm.
And it's like because when you and Snorri were making the songs, like what was the entire writing process with that? Was it just like Snorri kind of was like, oh, I have these few riffs, and he brought them together, and you had ideas? Just like just tell us a bit more about the story of not the recording side of Grimmick, but actually like making the songs together.
Yeah. Um, Most of pretty much all of it is Snorri's work. So he had riffs, he had the ideas, and if you listen to some of the, if you listen to the early Stigma Diabolicum, the first demo they released and stuff, you will recognize that it's a lot of the same riffs going again and again. And also if you hear the concert from Stjørdal, it's a lot of the same riffs, and essentially the song structures or the skeleton of the songs were already more or less put in place. We adjusted them a bit, we tweaked them, and Snorri at least had this idea that music is something that lives. It changes. So if you play the song like this today, it doesn't necessarily have to play it the same way tomorrow. And if this riff was cool in that song and you think it's cool in the other song too, then why not just use it there too? It's not like not limiting yourself to just one thing in a way. And I think how it worked, we were in Snorri's bedroom rehearsing, playing the songs, and how to say it? Yeah, we were just playing together, and as the songs formed, uh, there was sometimes we tried out different variations, or Snorri came up with, oh, it would be cool if we did this instead of for this part, or if we insert this new part here, or stuff like that. So pretty much how all kind of music composition in bands happened. Sometimes you get some happy accident. Usually I came in out of time or something, and Snorri was, hey, that's cool. Let's do that again. I was like, oh, I can't remember how I did it. We were just playing together. We were just jamming and essentially just forming the structure of the songs into a shape that we thought this is cool.
When it came to recording the tracks, it was pretty much all done in one take, wasn't it? Or was it you and Snorre playing together, or was it just Snorre recorded his guitar parts and then recorded another guitar part, then you did the bass, or was it both of you guys playing into the little tape machine thing together?
Yeah, we had borrowed a 4-track recorder from a friend, so we just plugged into it, both of us, and played together. I don't think either of us knew how to do this separately. So at least how I remember, I don't remember the details. It's 34 or 5 years ago, so it's memory is a bit hazy. But I can't remember that we did anything else than just press record and play. And it's not entirely accurate that it was done in one take, but it was pretty much every song was done in one take, or not necessarily one take, but we did multiple takes because we did mistakes and stuff, and then we figured, no, we do it again. But we didn't. I remember we tried to kind of jump in on some existing stuff, but we didn't figure out how, and so we just recorded every song in one take together.
Gotcha. Cool. And what's your favorite track from the Grimmick EP?
I don't know really. It's I think all the songs were pretty cool in their way, but also it's not like I've been. Of course, lately I've been listening to it a bit again, both because of the work we have been doing with the tab book, and also for the work we're doing to try to bring it back into a live setting. But I don't know. I remember I at the time at least I really liked Playing Home, but also I think Fall is a great song still. So it has a lot of energy to it, and it would have been even better with drums and vocals, of course. But
Right, yeah,
that's
yeah.
how it is.
Yeah, yeah, because I think one of the coolest things about Grimmick is I guess it's one way to think of it like this. It's like Grimmick is a vibe in a way. It's a soundscape almost because if there was like vocals and drums, it would be more like songs in a way. And I
Mm,
think that's what made Grimmick kind of a bit more because it's the mystique in black metal that makes it so appealing. And because there's no drums or vocals, it automatically gets people thinking like, oh, where's that? What's happening next? What's happening here? But also, what's really cool is because of like the production of the recording of Grimmick and the way you guys are playing, it's still percussive. It's interesting because like black metal can sometimes has from what you guys have created, black metal has a branch where there's a lot of monotony in the playing, where it's just like one a few chords just played in the same way. Whereas I think because of like the thrash influence, and I could be wrong, but because of the thrash influence, that's what gave this kind of bounce to a song, especially like Fall, like
mm,
like
mm,
today people wouldn't call that traditional black metal, but if you were to take like Home for example, that's a bit more like it, like if like the normal kind of black metal now, because you've got a bit more harmony with the strings, you've got the minor chords and everything, but it's still
mm,
percussive. It's just bum bum bum. It's got this like
mm.
slow, heavy walking kind of pace to it. I think that's one of the reasons why Grimmick stands so strongly without drums is because of the percussiveness.
Mm. Yeah, I think kind of seeing it in hindsight, of course, at the time we weren't very pleased. Neither me nor Snorri was very pleased that this tape had been spread around. But seeing it in hindsight, if we had waited and actually got it recorded the way we were thinking it was going to be, it would probably have been way less unique in a way. It would have been I don't think it would have been. I still think it would have been a decent demo tape, but it wouldn't have been this kind of totally different thing that blows people's minds. And I think that's probably what happened, even though it was probably quite unintentional on our part. It was kind of sending a sketch so that Marius and Bård should know about the songs before we met for rehearsals. And how to say it? Also, as you mentioned, whether this would have been considered black metal or not, I don't think we had the notion of black metal at the time when we recorded this. It was essentially just we were playing our music. Our inspiration was kind of the thrash and death metal and speed metal and all the stuff that we'd grown up with. But I don't think we thought of it as black metal, or that notion hadn't come into us at all. I can't remember exactly when, but I remember, at least from my perspective, it was Øystein Euronymous that it was started to kind of like pushing this idea that we should take back the label black metal and create something out of it and label our music that way, because that puts it apart from this, especially this Bermuda Shorts thrash metal from the Bay Area thing. That we liked the music, but we didn't like the image.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Gotcha. And that was going to be one of my like other questions, whilst we're talking about like this era of Thorns, is like the kind of response that that Thorns got from musicians at the time. Because I know people say that Euronymous and Varg really liked Thorns and had an impact on them. Like, is that true? Like, when you spoke to the guys, if you did ever meet them, because I'm pretty sure you met Euronymous at some point.
Yeah.
Like, what was their like reaction to like the initial Grimmock tape and everything?
Yeah, that's kind of what surprised me a lot at the time, especially Euronymous. That was he was a few years older than us, and it was kind of he was an inspiration too. And kind of, at least for my part, looked a bit up to him at the time. And I had heard that he liked the tape, so I asked him once he was visiting in Trondheim, and so I asked him, like, I heard you like the tape, how? And I was like, yeah, best thing I ever heard, he said. I was like, you can't mean that, but all right. So yeah, I know he liked it. I never met Varg. Fortunately, as I can say now, but at the time it was just how it was.
That's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool, like the story. When did you guys decide to call Thorns or put Thorns in the black metal bubble? And how did like black metal become like more of a thing? Like, because people say that A Blaze in the Northern Sky was like the first like coined black metal album. Would you agree with that, first of all? So yeah, that's the first question. Would you agree that that was like the first kind of like stepping stone to what made black metal what it is today? Like that was like one of the first like kind of black metal studio albums. And when did Thorns start to come under this black metal banner?
Let's take the first thing first. Yeah, I kind of still consider A Blaze in the Northern Sky to be kind of the ground zero for the Norwegian black metal, and I think, I mean, people talk a lot about, at least when I'm around, people talk a lot about how much Thorns has meant for black metal, but I think that there's a lot of other bands and people that also had a lot. This wasn't like something that was invented by two guys in Trondheim. And of course, Mayhem is really, really important for what was to be black metal, and especially Euronymous for kind of pulling the scene together. We weren't. It was a very small scene at the time. We were very few people, and yeah, I think what Darkthrone was doing, and also you had other people like Enslaved and Emperor and others that kind of was much more part of the scene that at least I was, and really made a musical genre out of it. And also, I think it's fair to mention also Arcturus into this, because they were also kind of part of that scene. And I think that's also what I find cool about black metal. And it was also when Euronymous first started talking about this, he wasn't talking about the musical style. He was talking about an attitude. He was talking about kind of make metal cool again. It was about leather and spikes and long hair and darkness and satanic lyrics and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't about. It was kind of a reaction towards the skateboard thrash metal and happy thrash metal that we saw emerging from, especially from the US. But yeah, when did Thorns became part of black metal? I don't know. I have no idea, to be honest. I think what happened was that there was a small community, and those who were part of it was kind of black metal, kind of on the outside of the whole thing. Anyway, I was it was me and Snorre in Trondheim, and we knew a couple of other kind of thrash metal people in Trondheim and stuff, and we got to know the guys on Mayhem, and especially Euronymous. But apart from that, I wasn't hanging out with other people in Oslo or other people of what was to become the black metal scene in that time. So I was a computer geek. That was what I was doing. So just playing a bit of music on the side.
Because that was one of the questions I was going to ask you about, like the you mentioned it like perfectly. It's like that black metal attitude that people need to like behave and kind of like act in a certain way and things like that. Do you still hold that to be true? Because this is the thing. It's like because I think because if we take it from many years later since it first was a scene now, it's more like black metal has its own sound now. Whereas like the attitude side of things has really it's still there, but it's still kind of died down. Where do you see it now, basically? And do you still
Yeah.
hold the attitude thing to be the most important thing?
Yeah, but I don't. I think I want to kind of also, at least I never understood this to be, even at the time, that you have to behave in this way or you have to dress in this way. Even it was just about bringing kind of what we thought was cool about the bands when we grew up. I mean, we were listening to Venom, Celtic Frost, Bathory. It was leather and spikes and yeah, what how to say it, unclear photos and
Yeah.
it was kind of, but it was the music and it was the image to portray through the music and in how you kind of take band photos or how you dress on stage if that ever became a thing. Um, but it wasn't about having to behave a different way or I think a lot of people misunderstand that, or
Hmm.
maybe it evolved into that at some point. I know the as the Helvete music shop kind of got more popular, I have a feeling there was a pretty unhealthy culture developing there.
Hmm.
I was kind of, as I said, I was pretty much on the outside of all that. I knew Euronymous. I went to visit him both in Helvet and other places, and had a pretty good contact with him.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
Gotcha.
yeah, he was as I remember it, a pretty cool guy, and we had some. I think we shared some interest that not so many other people in the scene at the time, at least, did, with kind of like, he was passionate about chemistry and about kind of, yeah, doing cool stuff about and learning stuff and reading stuff, and also had, for his part, mostly practical interest in computers, as he was using that to run his business. Whether he was running it to the ground or in is up to others to decide. Um, but anyway, we kind of exchanged that. We sent floppy disks to each other and stuff with cool programs that we had discovered. And, yeah.
Cool. All right, yeah,
So
because yeah, I would never have expected to hear that Euronymous was into chemistry and stuff. But going back to like the black metal attitude, because this is one thing that I wanted to because one thing that popped up to my mind is that the cool thing about the early black metal scene and all the bands in there is that every single band sounded different.
yeah,
And I think when it comes to like today, I think like what was part of the black metal attitude at the time was the need to be different. And I think that's the kind of like a common theme with everything. Because as you were saying, like Euronymous wanted to make something a bit different compared to uh the shorts and like the happy like riffs and what was happening in the States at the time. So already that was that kind of thing. But also in all of the bands at the time did something to make themselves sound a bit more unique or different. Because like to my ears at least, like if we were to make the more of the differences between, say, like Arcturus, for example, as opposed to Mayhem, for example, is like Arcturus has always been about like this kind of like cosmic grandioseness. Like everything's kind of like spatial and kind of atmospheric and kind of bleak in a way.
mm,
But it wasn't. It was grim, but it wasn't like grim, if that makes sense.
yeah,
Because like
yeah.
with Mayhem's riff, it was grim, and it was meant to be like, okay, yeah, we've got to try and make like the darkest music possible, meant to be ugly sounding and grim, and have all these like kind of like minor chords and ringing out notes, just making it sound it's more sinister.
Yeah.
So, and having these like different things, like that you had Mayhem's sinisterness, you had Arcturus's cosmic, um, spatial kind of sound, you had Immortal's kind of like coldness,
Mm,
and then you had this kind of almost like triumphant kind of melodic stuff that Enslaved was doing, and then Emperor had like this kind of sophistication in a way
mm.
because they used like all these like seventh jazz chords and stuff. And I think that that's probably the biggest thing to what makes black metal. And that was going to be like my main point. It's like black metal exists to be different in a way, or not so much a difference between like a kind of step away from something that it's its own thing, even
Mm.
between the bands.
Yeah, I've never thought of it that way, but it was kind of my point too when mentioning Emperor and stuff earlier, is that um, yeah, all the bands were different, and all the bands kind of brought their own things into the scene, from kind of the primitive stuff from Dark Throne to the sophisticated stuff from Emperor, and all the kind of stuff in between. And as I said, it was never meant, at least in the beginning, as a musical style. It was yeah, it was about creating music that was true. I mean, that you felt that it was something you want to express. And I think also part of the reason why things turned out so different is that a lot of these people are passionately interested in music, not just metal, not just extreme metal, but music in general. And I think that influences a lot of the things that comes out of the music in that time. Because, yeah, as you say, it is a very different form of expression between the different bands, and still they're kind of working together into one scene, and it's connected, and yeah, people are kind of promoting each other. Every time you send a tape of your own stuff to some friend in Brazil or wherever, some contact, you always tip the other band on the B side, so kind of helping each other out.
Yeah, cool. That's great, and I really like that kind of community aspect. Yeah, instead of giving like the work to one person, it's like spread across, and everyone just kind of just gets lifted up from it in a way. Going back to like this kind of philosophy of being a vested, having that vested interest in music, I think is so much more powerful to an individual nowadays. So say like for example, like it's middle of 2025, and it's very easy for someone to be just into black metal because of all of the decades of albums and whatever that have come up, and easy for them to just be interested in one music genre, and that's fine. But then to me anyway, that just seems so limiting in a way, because like admittedly, like extreme music is the main thing that I listen to, purely because it's the only music genre that is kind of the most stimulating. But I also like other kinds of music, like I grew up with like 90s and 2000s hip hop, for example. Is it? I can't believe I'm mentioning this, but it's like that Dre beat, the Dr. Dre beat, where you've got like this really kind of like heavy beat in your music has kind of like had this effect on me, like subconsciously, where everything that I look to play has to have some kind of like pulse or a
Yeah,
groove or a beat to it. It can't just be like the whole time. And if it is
yeah,
like that, there's got to be some other stuff going in there, either with like the bass or the percussion, or something in the rhythm section as well. Because with me, I like to keep things like bouncy and kind of groovy in a way. It's why my guitar playing is so percussive, because I like having my guitar playing being likened to a drum beat as well. I think thinking like that is so powerful, because it's what gives, because going back to like the trueness of music and this kind of scene, it's like the music that you want to express. And and
exactly.
and it's hard for someone who only wants to do one thing to kind of let themselves a bit more free in a way, because it's so easy to get like I want to make songs like this band or that band, because admittedly I was in like that, but then it takes some time to think like but what's me,
Yeah,
kind of, what's my riffs, kind of thing, what's here, rather than like
exactly.
here or there. It's like more
Yeah,
from like the heart. I remember someone mentioning that black metal has become so like fragmented now, and I think that's one of the best ways to make your music kind of stand out and have this identity, is to have more of yourself in there, not what you think you want to hear, if
yeah.
that makes sense. And
I
it's a really tricky thing. It's a really tricky thing, and it's one of the things that you can't teach, or you can't like it's one of those things that you can't teach, because you can't like teach like creativity or anything like that. It's difficult.
Well, it's possible to, at least I feel it's possible to train it, and as such, it's also, I think, I don't think it's entirely accurate to say you can't teach creativity, because there will always be techniques, and also just being exposed to more different expressions and different styles, and it doesn't even have to be just music. I'm For my part, I'm very interested into both films and literature, and all that. So I try to. I don't read as much as I used to now anymore, but I watch even more films though. But that's also an important part of the same kind of creativity for me, at least.
Hmm.
And also, I think one of the things and I think that's one of the things you maybe can learn from the early black metal scene, is that expressing yourself in your way is much more powerful than trying to make a musical style. it's not so much about having one uh, expression or one that's not what I'm looking for, but it's not about having a right way of expressing yourself. It's about kind of doing what you feel like, and not being limited by whatever genre you want to be part of or want to be um, associated with.
Hmm.
I feel it's more about like make the music that you like, make the music that you would like to hear, but also make the music that kind of speaks your voice.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. And that reminds me of a conversation that I had recently because I was speaking to Shalva, Andre, and he we were talking about like music, and then he mentioned God's latest album,
Hmm.
where I think it's like I can't remember what the song is called, but it's like the second song on the album, where the riff goes like dun dun dun. It's kind of like this. He
Hmm.
called it like a Miami Vice kind of like 80s kind of thing, and then it goes right into like the kind of black metal double kicks and kind of things.
Yeah,
But like that's one of the coolest things about God and bands who think like that, because
yeah,
it's that total case of this is the music I want to make and
yeah,
is unapologetic about it.
yeah.
And I think that's
It's one of my favorite bands is the Japanese band Psy.
oh yeah.
I feel they have this kind of stuff, and they kind of started out as pretty much a straight black metal band, like almost a Venom cover band in the beginning. But pretty soon, like after second or third album or something, they just suddenly started doing all kinds of weird things, and you had this both completely style changes in the middle of a song or even in the middle of a beat. It's like suddenly there's something completely different, and there's trumpets and all kinds of stuff. And I really fell for that. I really like that way. It's when music is able to surprise me. I think that's uh, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like, admittedly, like I'm not too familiar with Psy's discography, but yeah, I've got mates who are massively into them. That's what I like as well. It's like with with music now, I want to listen to things that I haven't heard before and have just keep things exciting in a way. It's like, whoa, what's going to happen
Yeah,
next? Kind of thing. Just having like not only just like cool songs, but like just moments that are like, oh, I wasn't expecting that, or damn, that's a cool riff, and or that's a cool like drum beat. I like the hyper intense kind of side of things, but I also appreciate it when things are like unpredictable and weird as well.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it might be an age thing. I don't know, but it's like the way you listen to music well, at least for me anyway. The way I listen to music now is very different to the way I listened to music when I was like 14 or 15.
yeah, yeah. Same here, and I also feel that as I got more proficient with making and playing music myself, that kind of also evolved my taste in music. And I suddenly started appreciating music that I would never have thought interesting at all before, because I can hear things, and I can kind of hear the effort put into the music, and kind of the honesty of the expression or whatever. It can be pure vocal pieces or anything at all, really.
Mm. I remember watching a video that just popped up on Facebook. This was years ago, and I can't remember which country or whatever it was. But it was just like it just inspired me at the time, and it was like a group of people singing like an old, I think it might have been an old Scandinavian song or an old Icelandic folk song or something, but it was like
Mm.
in the middle of like a train station, but just like hearing all the harmonies and all the voices together with the reverberation of like the echoing and the sounds bouncing from the room. It's like little things I don't know, but like there's some things out there that you'd never find yourself appreciating 5 years ago, and then a few years later being like, oh. damn, this is actually fantastic. Another example I have of that is Wardruna.
Yeah.
So I remember just like seeing them around when I was first getting into like extreme music and stuff, and I was like, wait, why are like black metal and death metal listeners listening to this? Like this isn't death metal. What's going on? Like yeah, it's got Garl in it, but I just it didn't click with me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my friend was like, and then Wardruna were playing a show. I think it was like 2013 or whatever. And then my friend had tickets, and he was like, "Hey, you can like, I'll give you a ticket or whatever." And I was like, "All right, screw it, I'll go and watch it." And then it was only until I watched it live I understood it a lot more because
Mm.
it's more about like taking you in. It's almost like the most kind of it sounds silly, but it's like epic campfire music in a way.
Yeah.
Like you're just there at night and you've got like like tribal drums and just like spoken voices and horn flutes,
Yeah.
drone sounds. It's just like, oh, this is dark but somehow peaceful, and it just clicked. It just clicked, and
Yeah.
I love having life experiences like that.
Mm. Yeah, I've always liked Vardrun. It's I know it's fair, not quite right to say I know him, but I know I've been speaking a bit to Einar about the project both before he got it off the ground and otherwise. But yeah, I always liked it. Yeah, I think I've always had a soft spot for like folk rock. Anyway, I've liked the old folk rock from the 70s and stuff. I think that's really cool. But what I think Vajrana has made and been able to kind of put put more effort into is that they have, since they are using more authentic instruments and pretty much only nature sounds and stuff, they kind of get a more authentic expression of how music could have been in medieval times and before. A music you can dream yourself away in. It's
Oh, yeah.
and it's very like suggestive. It's like you get into this rhythm whether you want it or not. Really, it's kind of has all this basic. It kind of feeds your instincts in a way, and
Mm.
I think yeah, it's very powerful music to me.
Yeah, yeah, it's that sense of being drawn into it. I've got to put some backstory before I make this point. So I remember I got like a comment on my Instagram, something about a riff I made, and I replied back being like, yeah, the idea was to make something a bit cyclical, the riff,
Mm,
because I was reminded of Stormblast, the song by
mm,
Diabolicum, where we've got this ending of a ending section where the riff just repeats and repeats and repeats, and it's just the same thing and again and again and again. And it's the
mm,
same thing for Pantheon Eye's Worlds I Create. Like it had this really long, like two-part riff that just repeated, and it was just long. And it just really, really draws you in. It just sinks you in, and that's what Druna has to me, anyway. It's this kind of
mm,
it's not so much cyclical, but this kind of like ongoingness that you
mm,
just want to like be in it, like you're in it, and it's just you're flowing with the music.
mm.
Kind of like a dark space paysage diva kind of thing as well. And some of the tracks on the Thorns album, the first Thorns album. You
Yeah.
know what they got like those repeated sections and stuff, that kind of
Mm.
thing. So yeah, I totally get it. And then what made you want to leave Thorns again? Was it like studies? Was it studies or?
Yeah, it was essentially. I was, as I said, I was a computer geek, so I was going to learn stuff, and I was going to get an education, and yeah, the thing was, after we recorded the Grimmer tape, we met for rehearsals sometime during that summer. I can't remember exactly when, but probably like yeah, either yeah, I think it was either in middle of summer or early August or something. I can't remember exactly, but we met for rehearsals. We borrowed the rehearsal room from some friends. a band called Demogorgon Dawn at the time, which later, at least part of that group, became the Third and Immortal, which kind of was able to make a name for themselves for a bit at least. And we did rehearse and the songs that we had on the tape and got drums and at least some vocals on them. But then Snorre left to go to a folkehøyskole. That's it's kind of like a special school, which is like a boarding school, but you're there voluntarily, and it doesn't count towards your education. But it's like a free year, but it's they have them all around Norway, and they often have different subjects that they kind of specialize in. And this one was about music, of course. So he and some other friends went there. And so then he was away for a year, and then I started my studies. And by the time he was coming back, he said that, yeah, well, we have to relocate the band to Oslo to get everybody together and do it properly. And I was like, yeah, well, I didn't have any idea that this was anything that you could do as a profession or as a living or anything. And besides, I wanted to pursue my studies, so I said, good luck, have a good time. So he Snorre left for Oslo, and yeah, after like half a year or so, 8 months or so, he came back, and Thorns was history, he told me. So yeah, it was essentially just life happening, as it usually is.
Gotcha. And in the in the lead up to like all of the events going on in 92 and 93, like what was was there any kind of like tension in the air at the time? Because like if you're looking at this from as like as kind of like not being in the scene but there, what was the vibe like just before things escalated, really?
Yeah, I don't know. It was a strange time, I think, and I said I was kind of on the outside of it, staying in Trondheim and working on my school stuff. I wasn't much of a part of it, but it had already started a few years earlier, but with the first church burnings and stuff, and I did not personally. I didn't have. I didn't like that, and then it made me pull more out of it. It made me less interested in hanging out with people. I still had contact with Euronymous and stuff like that, but I wasn't kind of interested in being part of a scene or anything. It was just, yeah.
Yeah, it's no, totally got it, because when things get a bit weird and spooky in a way, it's kind of like,
yeah, and it's kind of, at least how I perceived it, both at the time and I think also still do, is that when we kind of got into this, it was about music. And we had this idea that it was about music, and as we were talking about, all the bands were all kind of different, and people were pulling each other upwards, and we had the fan scenes and the stuff that, I mean, that was a big part of it. The music that we liked and that we cared about was at the time perceived so extreme that, I mean, even the metal press didn't speak about it. I mean, it was, you could be lucky to get a review of your demo if like Mayhem sent their first album to Kerrang and was completely butchered. It was like, this is just shit, essentially, was what they said. And the drummer needs to take drumming lessons. I don't remember exactly, but it was like, and that was the best you could hope for. And there was no kind of interest from the music industry or the metal scene otherwise. I mean, even I remember even the people who were listening to kind of heavy metal at the time when we started exploring Venom and extreme noisy bands like Metallica and stuff. It was like people thought this was way too extreme. And afterwards, now everybody said, "Oh, I liked Metallica from the beginning." No, you didn't. You're harassing us because we like this noisy music. So it was a strange time, and I think that was part of the reason that the scene kind of had to stick together and try to help each other out and promote each other instead of fighting amongst each other. But all that changed once, at least that's my impression, that all this changed once Varg Vikernes came into the picture. And then things started being not only about music anymore, but about doing things and yeah, trying to I don't know. I don't know what the idea was, but yeah, it ended up with church burnings and in the end, murder. So.
No, of course. I think that's a stigma that's still with black metal. If we take like, you've got questionable political ideologies, but I want to try and focus on like this kind of like musical um, kind of focus. But it's that sense that like even now people think. Like, I was at a guitar shop the other day filming for a YouTube video, and they're like, "Oh, what kind of music do you make?" And I said black metal, and they said, "Oh, sounds dangerous." And it was just like a really kind of like snarky comment. It wasn't even like out of curiosity. It was just kind of like, haha, haha, like just kind of like a throwaway kind of smug attitude, if that makes sense. And I think that's one thing that's still stigmatized to this genre today. Like, even though now the whole sound of everything is a lot different. You've got like real hard working musicians and engineers and productions and everything. And I still think it's kind of sad that everyone not so much takes it for granted, but automatically dismisses it just being under the kind of like black metal banner in a way, or finding only negative connotations to the music, whether it be in production sound or this kind of like image or a vocal style. Yes, these things are part of what makes something in the circle, I guess, but I still think it's unfair to dismiss something because of people's ignorance.
Well, that's how things are usually dismissed, isn't it? But
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah, I think that's different here in Norway. Black metal has kind of become a source of pride for people, even not metal people these days. They know about black metal. They know about it being popular abroad. They know. I mean, uh, Jörn Necrobutcher once told me that they've been playing somewhere around the world, and they were invited to kind of the Norwegian embassy of the place they were playing and for dinner and drinks and stuff. And I was like, okay, I would like to see that, but but yeah, in Norway it's seen as and it's very often mentioned that kind of the biggest cultural export of Norway is like Henrik Ibsen, the famous author, and Norwegian black metal. So I think it's very different here because it has helped put Norway on the map musically in a way it wasn't before. You had kind of like a few offshoots like Aha, the pop band that became really huge, but they didn't have like a following. They didn't have a scene around them. It was them, and got really wildly popular, but nothing more happened. But with the black metal scene, it has brought with them like numerous Norwegian bands that are touring the world and are seen rightly as the foremost of their kind. So that has been noticed in Norway, and it's a lot of kind of the music business part has also embraced the Norwegian black metal. Um, Probably not so much as a commercial venture, at least not within the country, but especially when promoting things abroad. That's yeah. So that's a very different feel to it. Of course, people are still aware of all the shit that happened, and it's not been forgotten in any way, but it has matured, and people see that there's actually genuine music and musicianship that's behind this success. You can burn churches and you can kill people, but that doesn't make you a good musician. And if that's all you did, you would have to continue burning churches and killing people to stay on in the news. But now you can just play music instead.
Yeah, and that's way more fun to keep.
Yeah, well,
You know what I mean?
I never burned
Oh my God.
churches or killed people, so I can't really say, but I think I'll stick to the music.
Yeah, of course, 100%. And that's one of the reasons why this channel exists, is to shine light on it and continue to shine light on it, and move everything leave things in a better place than before, and continue to inspire people, and have people like yourself on the channel to further inspire and share the story, and focus on not only the truth but what's right for not black metal but music as a whole,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
leading.
but it's. I mean, what's truth? But I think we all of us who at least have some relation to that period have our own view of it and have our own thoughts about what really happened and how it happened, and I don't know the half of it, but I know only the parts I was part of,
Hmm.
and but I think at least as I mentioned how it's turned out in Norway now over the past 5 6 years, there has been a steady stream of books and documentaries and stuff about black metal and about the scene around black metal that has not been focused on all the shit that happened. It has been focused on the music and the musicianship and uh, the genuine creativity that was in the scene at the time, and still is by all means. But there's and that has been an eye opener for me too, because I said I kind of have I was there when it happened, and when all things went to hell, it's kind of I pulled even further out, and even for the most part stopped listening to the music because of all the not entirely, but at least so a lot of the kind of newer black metal bands like yeah, like Immortal and Diabolicum and all those bands that are now, of course, old. But I had to rediscover them when I kind of got back more into the music again. And for a long time, like in the pretty much second or yeah from mid 90s and up towards more recent time, I was more into like more experimental music and listening to different stuff. Some of it stuff that I was introduced to by Euronymous, like Diamanda Galas and the Residents and uh, all that kind of stuff, but also other stuff that I discovered later, like Swans and Sonic Youth and all kinds of more also very powerful music, but very different expression and from a different scene. And also one Norwegian band I want to promote. It's called Famlende Forsøk, which in our English means fumbling attempts. It's essentially an art collective that's making, or did, they were active in the 80s, but they made some really cool music, and they don't have a singer, they have a poet. So it's essentially his poetry, and they made some really cool Lovecraft themed songs, which are just amazing. So yeah, there's music everywhere, but
Cool.
at least from my journey has kind of brought me through a lot of the more, yeah, some of the weirder parts of the musical landscape. And
Mm. And did you find that when you spent that time away from the extreme side of music, it made you appreciate the extreme stuff even more when you got back into it again?
yeah, I think it's, I don't know if it was anything conscious. It just, you kind of realize it never left you. So that's where you kind of belong, and it's, but I don't know, or I still don't really know all the different bands and all that stuff. I kind of have the old ones that I listen to, like Mayhem and Arcturus and Mortem and yeah, Enslaved and Emperor, of course. Um, but all kind of that middle
Mm.
of Norwegian black metal. I don't have that much relation to them.
Gotcha.
I've
Yeah.
got this. I've discovered a lot of them afterwards, of course, and like yeah, both Dimmy Borgir and Satyricon has made some really good albums, I think, and are still yeah, are amazing live bands and really cool to see.
Yeah. And what's your favorite album from the scene at the time? Well, not even, or like top three.
I don't know. That's I'm not really fond of range. What's the word? Rating
Uh,
things.
uh.
It's like my favorite album is the one I want to listen to now. But I don't know. I think one of those albums that still blows me away when I put it on even today is uh, A Blaze in the Northern Sky. Yeah, I think it's, if that album had come out today, it would still have been a great album.
Yeah.
It's at least for me, it's really as far as black metal come. For me, that's kind of perfection.
Awesome. That's cool. And before we move on away from like the 90s black metal scene, did
Mm.
you end up watching Mayhem when they did that show with Dead? Um,
No,
no, okay.
no, I was in the US then, so I spent a large part of the night on the phone with Snorre after the show,
Uh,
because he was at an after party and they had a phone, so he called me, and it was like in the middle of the night where I was. So, but we hadn't been talking for a long time, so that was cool.
okay. Gosh.
But yeah, no, I wasn't there. I saw Dead. I met Dead a few times, and I saw him at a rehearsal that Mayhem. I went to their rehearsal place, and they did a rehearsal where I could see them, and that's pretty much how you saw bands in those days. You went to visit them and saw them in the rehearsal place.
Yeah. Gotcha, because that was another thing. You've reminded me on another question I was going to ask. What was the thought process behind a lot of bands just either not playing live or just outright refusing to play live? Like, what was the thought process back then, or was it even just like no one was like putting any shows, or no one wanted to organize any shows, or was it just a kind of keep things contained kind of thing.
Yeah, I think I don't think there was, especially that people refuse to play live. That's probably their own thing. I don't know. For some that do it, I know it's because of they don't like to play live, and they don't like, and they have like the stage fright or something, and don't like that, and that's fair enough. As for in the early days, as I said, we were a really small scene, and there wasn't really any concerts. There wasn't any venues that would take this kind of music, and it wasn't really the best thing you could hope for was to get a gig at uh, like a punk squat or something, which only meant Oslo, Trondheim, maybe Bergen, but I I don't think it even crossed our mind because it wasn't that many people really, and they were spread all across the country. So I remember when Mayhem did that gig in Jessheim, it was like people from all over the country coming, and that was a big thing. I don't know how many people was there even, but if they drew a crowd of 100, that's probably way more than expected. I have no idea how many people was there, but I can't imagine there was any more than that.
Yeah, that sounds about right because that would have been basically the whole collective in Norway just being like, okay, Mayhem's playing,
Yeah,
after like, all the tape trading and cassette trading and stuff. It's like,
yeah.
yeah, got to be there. But that's yeah, quite a story. And now let's move on away from like the black metal scene and like the
Mm.
90s and things like that. So let's talk about Imbalance. So
Okay, yeah,
how
cool.
did that start and how did that form? Because I believe I could be wrong. Um, you're the vocalist of Imbalance as well, right? Or
Yeah.
gotcha, cool. And then okay, so first of all, how did it all start? What made you want to begin like this like cool riffy thrash project?
That's also a long story. As I mentioned, I was studying. I ended up in the Oslo area studying. Um, After all the shit happened, of course. And as I said, I kind of withdrew from the scene and didn't have anything to do with it, and I was mostly listening to other types of music and other alternative types of music. But I was studying, and I had some other friends that we did a gig at a local school where we just played essentially cover songs, anything from Black Sabbath to uh, yeah, that kind of stuff. I actually managed to sneak in one Venom song in that one. But anyway, I moved back to Trondheim to finish my studies, and there I met a couple of guys that was looking for a bass player, and I was thinking, yeah, well, they didn't look like metal people, or at least the one I was met first, they didn't look like metal people. So I figured, yeah, okay, let's hear what they want to play, and maybe that could be cool. It doesn't have to be metal or anything, but yeah. So so I asked him what kind of what kind of music do you play? And oh, thrash metal. It's like, okay, cool. Let's give it a try. And so we did, and that became the band called Frost, which we got started rehearsing together. They were two friends that had already made a couple of songs, so we started rehearsing them and made some more songs and stuff in early in 1996, I think. And at first, we didn't have a singer, we didn't have a drummer. It was me on bass and these two guys on guitar, and but we were got got a drummer in after a while, and after a while we also got a singer that was with us for like three rehearsal or something, and then it disappeared. So then in the end, I figured, yeah, well, let me try, and I can start singing. And so we did, and we recorded a demo under the name of Frost that we released on CD because we were full of hubris. And yeah, from there we started playing, started gigging a bit, and things evolved. And in the end, most of the band moved towards Oslo because when we met, we were all students, and everybody was, except the drummer, was wanting to move to Oslo afterwards anyway. So we did, and tried to continue the band there, but it was difficult with drummers and stuff. So yeah, long story short, we ended up, in the end, one of the guitar player quit, and we got a drummer, and then we got another guitar player, which is Tormod, the one who's still with us, and the drummer is also still with us. So, and especially Tormod brought a kind of different riffing style and different musical ideas in with it, and he first he was a bit reluctant, but in the end he figured, I don't have anything better, so let's try these guys, and we started moving more into the direction he was starting to write more of the music, and so that's how we ended up there. And we felt that Frost was no longer a good name to be known by, so we changed the name to Imbalance. And yeah, that's
Cool.
how that came about.
All right, sweet.
Yeah.
And making the songs for Imbalance, how much of an input do you have with that? Do you come up with like certain riffs on like bass or certain riffs on like guitar parts and then bring them forward or prepare like full songs? Like how do you go about it?
Yeah. Um, Traditionally, we have it's been mostly Tormod bringing kind of the riffs and the structure for the songs, and then we rehearse them in the rehearsal room and shape them in a way there, and then once we start getting things into more or less a shape, then I do the vocals and start working on lyrics and getting things to work vocal wise. So um, it's essentially Tormod coming with the ideas and the basic structure of the songs, and very often very close to finished products, but then it gets input as we go. Now we have been also inactive for about a decade almost, and just recently got back. Like first gig we did was Inferno last year, not this year. And now we live a bit more spread apart, and we're all more busy with work and stuff. So now we work a bit differently, and it's mostly about, again, Thormod bringing the ideas. I get them and try to do vocals on them, and which again I send back to him, which he again maybe finds that, yeah, okay, this part works better if we move it there or there, or change it a bit to adapt to the vocals or stuff. So it's a different way of working now, but it everybody has their input on the songs in the end, but it's his composition in a way, and I do the lyrics and the vocal parts
Gotcha. Cool.
for
And
the
how
most
did
part.
you
Yeah,
and when you became the vocalist, did
mm.
you have difficulty singing and playing bass at the same time?
Yeah, of course. um, I still do, but it kind of has to be rehearsed together. And now my approach has been to kind of make the vocals and the bass one thing.
Mm.
So now it's to the point I can neither play the song nor remember the lyrics without also playing them on the bass. So it's kind of it really
Gotcha.
becomes one thing.
Yeah, because that's what I was going
Yeah.
to ask. Is like, do you think of like the bass parts first, and then the vocal patterns, and then force yourself to like kind of do both? But you've just answered the question. I was just yeah. It's like
Yeah, well, it depends. When we were rehearsing in the rehearsal room and meeting kind of like twice a week or something in the rehearsal room, then I always did the bass first because kind of get the song to a shape, and then started doing the vocals and then trying to merge them together. Now it's pretty much the opposite. I get the riffs and with the drum track and everything from Tormod, and then I start working on vocals and try to get them in, and then I'll deal with the bass whenever I have time for that.
hmm Cool. And then with when you get these songs, do you get like a tab with them as well, or do you have to like work out all the riffs by ear and then play along to them like that?
That's a bit early to say because we haven't gotten that far with the new songs yet.
Ah,
So I'm still working on the vocals for those. But I think I haven't gotten any tabs yet, and I think what we will do is we will meet occasionally, either at his place or at rehearsal room we're renting or something, where we can go through, so I can kind of learn the songs bass or yeah the riffs
hmm
from him, and most likely probably do it that way. We may do tabs for parts or something, but probably not sit down and tab the entire song.
I see. Okay.
I don't think so.
Cool. Yeah, yeah, I get you. I get you. Cool. And then what's like the next future plans for Imbalance then? Because you've done, you did the Inferno last year, you did the show recently. Any new gigs coming up or any albums or anything in the works?
No new gigs for the moment. That doesn't mean we haven't ruled it out, but we haven't booked anything either. And currently, we are kind of wanting to get on with some more new material first. So we are working on a number of new songs, and we have planned to make a music video because we made a music video in 2011 or something.
Hmm.
And that's a long time ago, so we can't live off of that anymore. We kind of need to make a new one. So,
Yeah,
and also that was kind of also kind of like a inspiration and a bit of kick in the butt to get started writing new material again. So,
for sure. Do you know what I think will be a really strong show for you guys. Yeah,
mm,
three band bill somewhere
mm,
in Oslo or Trondheim or whatever, but you guys with Nocturnal Breed and Aura Noir.
that would be really really fun for us
Yeah.
because they are really good bands, both of them, and that would be fun. I feel we're kind of on this. I don't know. They are big bands compared to us, so but of course we wouldn't turn it down.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking like of all the like the Norwegian uh, uh black metal-y thrash bands, or at least like some connotation to black metal thrash bands. I think yeah, you three on a three band bill together, that would be killer. That would be killer.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of that's one of the things I've after we're especially around this time around 2010 2000, yeah, around 2008 2012 13. We were quite active in the underground scene in Oslo and Norway in general. And one of the things that people don't know about Norway is that we have also a lot of really good thrash metal bands, like Virus, like of course they are not active. Virus is still. I think they've been away like us and are coming back to it. I think it's something about people getting old and realizing that if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it now, guys. But yeah, and Blood Tsunami is a really, really good thrash band that's not active anymore, but I know that they are a couple of guys from the same band are having some new stuff going. So yeah, there's a lots of really, really cool thrash bands, and of course XIII that we played with on these 2 gigs now this in Trondheim and Oslo this spring. Really, really good band.
Dope. Yeah, I've got to try and make it to one of your shows. Got to try.
Yeah, well, it's it would be nice. We're yeah, it's not we still have room left, to say it that way.
Yeah, yeah. And then
But that's
if you
how it
guys,
is.
and if you even if you guys play like London or the UK, like, dude, I'll be there, man. Hell yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Cool.
would love to.
With the recent revival of Stigma Diabolicum, how did that come about?
I think first of all, things are still very early, so it's early to say whether this actually will be a thing or not. Still, but we are talking about it, and we're starting to work on it, and we have some ideas. But essentially, it is Marius that's the driving force behind this, and he's kind of organizing it and getting the people together and pushing for it to happen. I've been thinking for years that it would be cool to kind of finish the songs. Everybody's heard the rough draft. Now it would be fun to kind of finish it and perform them live. Um, and Snorre is all in on it, but it's not necessarily certain that he will be the guitar player this time around. So he has other ideas, and I don't even know what he's thinking about it. But he's all supportive and wants it to happen too. So that's cool. So we'll see. We'll see what happens and when it will happen. I mean, at least from my part, and I also feel that's the atmosphere that, or the same sentiment that Marius has, is that if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. We're going to do it well. It's going to be a show that people will remember. I was there.
Yeah,
If we ever do it.
yeah. I think that's the best way forward because I don't know. I've got this philosophy now. Is like when I play a show live, I'm thinking like I don't know. For some reason, in the back of my mind, it's like this could be my last show ever. So it's a weird kind of motivator to make the show as good as possible. So yeah, I totally get where Marius is coming from. I had no idea that he was like spearheading the whole thing. I think that's cool. I think that's cool. And with
Hmm.
speaking of Marius, actually, it's like how often do you fill in for Mortem shows?
It hasn't happened yet,
Okay,
so I'm on eternal standby.
okay,
So yeah, there has been a couple of shows where it was going to happen, but they were all cancelled. So
oh,
that's how it goes.
I see.
So yeah, but yeah, I've been rehearsing with them and learning the songs, and so it's if there's ever a need, then I'm ready. They have had this like, oh no, sorry, we didn't happen this time either, and we're so sorry, and all that. I'm saying that, yeah, well, that's life. I mean, so and part of my goal with taking the job is to say that, well, at least you can book without limitation. You can, if you see that you have a gig and Tor doesn't have the opportunity, you can always you can still try to book it, and if it doesn't turn out, then okay, that's how it is. I know. I try to book enough shows to know that you mainly get rejections. So
Yep. Yeah, I
that's
get
how
it.
it is.
And how is it jamming with Hellhammer? Because I've never met,
I
but it's just like he's one of those people that I'd love to just like have a sit down and a jam around with.
Yeah. He's not playing live with them, as far as I know.
Okay.
Um, so I haven't been playing with him.
Oh, I see. So who's doing the Mortem drums live?
A guy called Eivind Brye, who's been doing live
Yes.
drums for them. He
Yeah.
also plays in, he has his own band called Disintegration, sorry, which is pretty cool. But they haven't done anything for years now. But and he's also been playing in some other bands and plays with Svart Lotus.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of met him sort of by accident in London, but yeah,
Okay.
we've spoken before. Okay, cool. So he's singing the Morton drums. Dope. No, he's a good drummer. He's a really good
Yeah,
drummer.
he's a really good drummer and nice guy, and so yeah.
Yeah, that's what you need in a
And
band. A talented person,
yeah,
nice dude to like actually spend time with. And that's
yeah, and probably a lot less busy, even though he's getting busy too. But he's not a lot less busy than Hellhammer, I guess.
Gotcha. Yeah, and with your playing and bass in general, who's like your bass heroes?
That's several different people, and on the one end of the scale, you have the early inspirations like Kronos of Venom and of course Lemmy of Motörhead. That's kind of the guitar-based bass foundation. That, but also I really liked Cliff Burton and his playing style. Although I'm not able to repeat it for myself, it's he was a really good bass player, I think, and also even like people like Victor Wooten and stuff. That's completely different genres and stuff, but which kind of shows that you can do completely different things with this instrument that I find inspiring. But again, these people are so good at what they're doing. I'm not even aspiring to try to replicate it. It's kind of more like admiration
Hmm.
for their skills and
Yeah.
their approach to making the music and all the effort they have put in to get to the place they are.
Yeah, because that's how I feel about all of the 60s and 70s Motown and funk bassists. I can't
Yeah,
remember all of the names, but you know the guy who did like all the Jackson 5 stuff, you know, dun, 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 dun,
yeah,
dun, 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 dun. All of those like really musical bass lines, and then
yeah.
the bass player for Chic as well, you know, dun dun.
I don't think I know that.
Ah,
But, yeah.
you know,
But yeah, there's many good ones. And one other I would like to pull up is of course Phil Lynott from Thin Lizzy. I
yeah.
really like, and also as a singing bass player, just being able to do the bass line he doing while he's singing the way he's doing is completely mind blowing to me. So
Yeah. Sick. And with your bass sound, what kind of what do you go for? Like what's like the kind of like bass sound that you go for? What do you look for? Like what and is there any like certain equipment that helps you get there?
um, it has varied a bit throughout the times, and it depends a bit on the band and the music style I'm doing. I'm doing some other kind of hobby projects for my own sake too, musically.
Mhm.
And I essentially just try to find a bass sound that I like. And generally, I like darker sounds in a way, which kind of goes without saying. But depending on the music, sometimes I want it crunchy and fuzzy and kind of crisp and brittle, and sometimes I want it just to be like this mellow, dark, slightly kind of woolly bass sound that kind of like the Ampeg. When you kind of have this dark, low Ampeg sound, it's a bit dirty, but kind of still playing.
Yeah, that's
So,
it.
but it all depends. It all depends, really.
Yeah. Because what I like to do, especially, it's interesting you mentioned Ampeg amps because from all of the bass amps that I've used, and it hasn't really been many, that's probably up there as one of my favorites because not only you get the normal like circular controls for the EQ, but you also get like the is
Yeah,
it
the graphic.
yeah, the graphic EQ with that. And I absolutely love it because it just gives you that little bit more flexibility with the sound. And what I like is I kind of like the upper mids kind of like dun, 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 kind of
Mm,
attack to it, where it's kind of like a trebly guitar tone because it's reminiscent to Mayhem's Chimera album.
yeah, great album.
Yeah, yeah, Impious Devious Leperlord.
Yeah,
The one that's like like the bass goes dun, 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 dun. For me, it just reminds me of like tanks for some reason,
yeah,
and that's the only way I can explain it, like tanky, like just
mm,
metallic and kind of thing, and dirty as well.
mm,
But that's why I love the SVT series because it has that
mm,
natural kind of dirtiness, and you don't really need. You could put like a pedal through it if you want to get that little bit more distortion, but it never
mm,
really needs it. And that's what I like about
yeah,
those
yeah.
SVT series amps. And what basses do you have? Because I know you've got the big double bass, and you've got a Dean
Yeah.
bass. What other
Yeah,
ones?
I got a Dean 4-string bass, and I got a Traben Chaos 5-string, which is mostly my main bass at the moment, and also I got a LTD 245
Mhm.
five
Cool.
string,
And
which
with
is a decent but much lighter bass. It's all right.
and does your Traben have the really cool bridge design as well? 'Cause you know
Yeah,
some,
yeah.
yeah,
I
good,
can go. I think yeah, that's one of the things I felt about it. I really like this bridge, and
yeah.
they claim it gives it a lot more sustain. I don't
Mhm.
really know, but it's a cool sound in it. It has a pretty powerful sound in it,
Yeah,
so I like it.
yeah. Because one of my friends, his bass is a four-string Traben, and it always had this kind of edge to the sound.
Yeah.
But it just worked. It just sounded really, really bloody good. You know, I'd really like to get a Traben five-string.
Mm,
You know, something similar to yours, because I just liked how they play and the way they sound.
mm,
And I've only got this four-string bass
yeah.
at the moment, and as good as it is, like I love this Dean bass. It's like one of the
Mm,
only basses nowadays. Well, it's one of the only basses that are in like an X shape now, but I
yeah.
wish it was a five-string.
Yeah.
Well, like
Yeah. No, mine is more the traditional bass shape, and it's without this Dean head. But
yeah,
it's more like a normal head. But it also sounds pretty good actually. I've had it for almost probably had it for almost 30 years now. It
no,
still
no.
sounds good.
Yeah. And is it or are you using active pickups in all your basses as well?
Yeah, they do have that. It's I haven't done anything about the electronics on the stuff. I'm I'm considering trying to switch to passive pickups, at least on one of the 5 strings, because I'm tired of having to deal with the batteries and
Ah,
always worrying, is it enough battery left for? It always is, but
yeah.
it's always something in the back of your mind, you know. It's
Yeah.
like, oh. It's more like, yeah, I also want to kind of try to get rid of. There's too many knobs and buttons and stuff on the, it's like you have a EQ and everything on the bass. I don't really see why I need that. I never use it. Only thing I get is that the pots go bad after a while, and then you get these crackly sounds, and it's like, yeah. So I
Yeah.
want to get rid of it, all of the electronics really, and just I was thinking get rid of the battery and the amplifiers and everything, and just have a cable straight out and do the
Yeah.
pedals and amplifiers afterwards. So
Yeah. Gotcha. That's curious because the way I approach things is very, very similar. Because I even got the tone pot removed on this
Yeah,
bass as well. Because the only controls that I use on my guitars are a good example is this one. So I even had the wiring removed from this tone control because
yeah,
I never use it. So I've got bridge and volume, and then I use my pickup switch as a kill switch.
yeah.
And and even live as well. The fortunate thing about these amps behind me
Mm.
and the equipment that I use is that I don't need to use any pedals in front of them as well. So I can literally just
Yeah.
go boom, boom,
Mm.
ready to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
And I want to keep it that way. Unless I'm like traveling and then I could just go like use like one of those like portable pedals and just go, okay, cool, click, click, run that into I don't know the back of an amp or whatever, and just
Yeah.
keep everything in a pedal,
Yeah.
basically. Something I want to toy with, but yeah,
Mm.
I find like I find like simplicity is so much better for me and my
Yeah.
and kind of sound and tone that I go for.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's much the same here. I need a bit of pedal because as we only have one guitar live, then when he goes off the solos, I need to have a bit more crunch in the bass, so I have like a boost. So I have a pedal that I just got recently, a new EBS pedal,
Uh-huh.
which kind of has this split path. So you have one distorted path and one clean path, and you can adjust them independently. And it also has like this boost button, so when you press it and manage to hit only that button and not both buttons at the same time, because then you turn it off, which is really hard to do live.
Hmm.
But if you manage to hit the right button, then it kind of boosts the distorted signal like a bit, so you get a bit more crunchy sound then. So it fills in a bit more behind the guitar on solos. So
Because one thing that I found with bass distortion
mm,
is that it kind of takes away from that initial kind of metallic attack, especially when you're playing it with a pick. This kind of
mm,
like I
yeah,
don't know what it is, but it's that sound when the pick hits the string, which like that initial it
yeah,
kind of gets taken away with too
mm,
much distortion. But I like that. But I like that sort of uncompressed sound, and that's why
mm,
I use have you used that program Parallax by Neural DSP? It's one of
no,
like plugins. Okay, cool. Because the cool thing about that is that you can like well the way I EQ it is like you've got your low end here. This bass has like a lot of mid range anyway, so I take it a
mm,
lot out. So it's kind of like so the EQ curve is like this. So it takes out
mm,
just enough of the mid range so it doesn't sound too like honky or
yeah, yeah,
that kind of weird kind of
mm,
frequency
mm,
sound. I get rid of that entirely, and then I get the kind of like upper end sizzle from the distortion, and then
mm,
I get just enough bass so that it covers the low end, but I just put on enough bass so that it fills in that kind of low level kind of rumbly compression, but doesn't
mm,
get rid of but keeps that kind of dang, dang, dang kind of
yeah,
thing. And
mm,
I absolutely love how I just like that program. It just does everything that I need it to do. I wish there was
mm,
like a kind of like um yeah, I wish there was like an amp that did what that did, so I can just be like, "Yep, cool," just plug into that instead. But yeah, it's a proper solid program, and
mm.
it does everything that I need it to, um, bass wise. But yeah,
I probably have a somewhat different demands on my software. I only use free and open source software, so but I have pretty much what I need.